The hotel ballroom fell into stunned silence. Only the faint hum of air conditioning could be heard now, as servers froze mid-step and cameras clicked out of sheer instinct. At the far end of the red carpet, a portrait of Eleanor March stood surrounded by white roses and sealed police reports. Her memorial was being live-streamed on every major network in the country, yet her body was never found. 3 months after she vanished without a trace, the world still had questions. But in the front row, sitting alone in a black tailored suit, was the man at the center of it all. Lucas Hale, 25, head lowered, jaw clenched. Some whispered he knew more than he let on. Others said Eleanor gave him everything, and that's what made her disappear. In front of him sat a chair, empty, reserved for the CEO who had once rewritten Wall Street rules and broken every taboo doing it. But no one had expected what she did that summer. She promoted him overnight. Just a marketing intern, barely 2 weeks into the company, and suddenly he was chief strategy officer. The media ate it up, the board pushed back, and everyone warned her. Everyone. But Eleanor March never listened to anyone, until it was too late. In this unbelievable story, you'll discover why Eleanor March took the most reckless risk of her career and made it public. The office gossip, boardroom tension, and late-night decisions that raised eyebrows across the nation. A forbidden romance buried beneath NDAs and billion-dollar deals. And the final moments before the world realized Eleanor was gone for good. Pay close attention. There's a brief quiz at the end asking, how many times did we mention Lucas Hale's name? It's just for fun. Get it right within 7 days for a chance at our shoutout post. Watching late? Answer anyway. We might still surprise you. Drop a comment, hit like, subscribe now, and turn on the bell for more jaw-dropping true-style dramas just like this one. Now let's go back to where it all began. 6 floors above Manhattan's noisy chaos, the offices of March Equity buzzed like a storm trapped behind glass. Floor-to-ceiling windows showcased the skyline, but inside, all eyes were glued to the woman striding across the polished marble. Eleanor March, CEO, billionaire. 58 and still sharper than most execs half her age. She didn't walk. She commanded. Every meeting, every deal, every breath in that office belonged to her. And on that Tuesday morning, she did something that would change everything. "Bring him in," she said, without looking up. Lucas Hale walked in, clutching his laptop like a shield. Just 25 years old, with 2 long sleeves and a face still fresh from grad school. He wasn't supposed to be in that room. He wasn't even supposed to be on the executive floor. But that morning, something about the pitch he sent at 2:14 a.m. had shaken Eleanor. It wasn't just innovative, it was visionary. And it had her name, her company, her future written all over it. "He's the future of this firm," she told her stunned executives. Effective immediately, Lucas is our new chief strategy officer. The silence in the room was deafening. One VP nearly dropped her coffee. Another muttered something under his breath. The board was furious. HR called it reckless. But Eleanor didn't flinch. Outside the glass walls, the staff whispered. Was it real? Was he sleeping with her? Why him? Why now? Lucas was speechless. He tried to object, said he wasn't ready, but Eleanor just smiled and handed him a sleek black keycard. "Congratulations, Mr. Hale," she said. "Welcome to the fire." From that moment on, everything changed. They began working late, sometimes until 3 a.m. They were seen in town cars together, speaking in hushed tones over espresso. Rumors exploded across social media. Anonymous blogs speculated about a secret affair, hush money, even hidden properties. And yet, no one could deny the results. Under Lucas's strategies, March Equity closed its biggest acquisition in a decade. Their stocks soared. Eleanor's gamble looked brilliant, almost too brilliant. But then, the text stopped. Her car remained in the garage, her penthouse untouched. Eleanor March was gone. No ransom, no goodbye, no security footage. And the last person to see her alive was Lucas Hale. By 9 a.m. the next day, her decision was viral. 58-year-old CEO promotes 25-year-old intern overnight. Wall Street in shock blared across news tickers. Blogs labeled it reckless. Pundits called it scandalous. But Eleanor didn't blink. She never did. Inside the building, March Equity's marble lobby became a war zone of whispers. Elevator rides were tense, meetings were colder, and Lucas Hale? He was caught in the crossfire. They said he was sleeping his way up. They said he'd crashed the company in 6 months. They said she'd lost her mind. But behind closed doors, Lucas proved them wrong. He analyzed the Latin American venture portfolio in a single weekend, spotted 2 money leaks, Eleanor's entire finance team had missed for years. "You're not just smart," she told him once during a rooftop meeting overlooking Central Park. "You're dangerous, in the right way." He blushed. She didn't. Still, the rumors kept growing. Eleanor began receiving anonymous notes. One simply read, "He'll ruin you." And maybe that was the point where it all started to unravel. The rooftop became their secret space. No cameras, no interns, just wind, skyline, and silence. Eleanor stood at the edge one night, champagne in hand, staring into the night. Lucas joined her with 2 glasses. She accepted one without a word. "You ever regret it?" he asked. "The job? The life?" She didn't answer right away. "I regret waiting too long to stop playing by their rules," she said. "That's why I picked you." Lucas looked at her, not like an intern, not like an employee, but like a man seeing someone for the first time completely, and she saw it. Something shifted between them that night. Not physical, not yet, but undeniable. From then on, Eleanor changed. She started trusting fewer people. She moved board meetings to private locations. She asked Lucas to review legal documents she once reserved for her top attorneys. And Lucas? He got smarter, sharper, more protective. He began noticing the veiled threats, phone calls that ended with static, her security team reshuffling without explanation. She was watching her back. But by the time she realized who was standing behind her, it was already too late. It was March Equity's annual gala, the firm's most public event of the year. Every CEO, senator, and investor was there. Cameras lined the velvet carpet. Champagne flowed like rivers. But Eleanor wasn't smiling. She had received another letter that morning. This one wasn't typed. It was handwritten, in red ink. "You won't make it past tonight." Lucas noticed her hand tremble when she passed him a folder. "What's wrong?" he asked. She brushed it off. But that night, something was off. Her usual speech, flawless and powerful, cracked at the end. She called Lucas to the stage, introduced him as the future of March Equity, and stepped away early. It would be the last time anyone saw her in public. The next morning, her penthouse was empty. Her phone was on the charger. Her shoes neatly by the door, no signs of a struggle, no forced entry. Her driver said she never came down. Security footage showed nothing, not a shadow, not a trace. The police launched an investigation. The board froze her assets. Speculation exploded. Was she kidnapped? Did she run? Some said Lucas had motive. He was suddenly the acting CEO. But Lucas didn't touch a dime. Instead, he locked himself in the office for days, refusing interviews, ignoring lawyers. He kept rereading her last calendar entry. It simply said, "Midnight, roof." 2 weeks later, an envelope arrived. No stamp, no return address, just Lucas's name, handwritten in Eleanor's unmistakable cursive. Inside was a USB stick and a note. "If you're reading this, I either made it out or I didn't." The video on the USB was grainy, a shaky, late-night recording from her office. Eleanor was pacing, hair tied back, face pale. She spoke directly into the camera. "I made enemies, real ones. This promotion wasn't about romance. It was about legacy. Lucas, you saw through everything. If they take me down, it's not because I failed, it's because I finally told the truth." She looked into the lens, and then she said something no one expected. "They'll erase me, but if you play your cards right, you'll outlive them all." After the video, Lucas Hale changed. The playful, boyish strategist vanished. What remained was colder, calculated, quiet. He didn't speak at meetings unless necessary. He installed 2-factor authentication across the company, even for janitorial staff. He demanded private, untraceable security. And behind the scenes, he started digging. Eleanor's calendar, call logs, deleted emails, all archived and encrypted. But Lucas had access now, not just because she trusted him, because she wanted him to find something, and he did. A memo buried deep in a discontinued server, titled Project Halcyon. It referenced offshore transactions, shell corporations, and one name he didn't recognize, Ainsley Maddox, former board member, ousted, disgraced, but now, suddenly back on donor lists, speaking at tech conferences, throwing money into startups that mysteriously aligned with March Equity's most vulnerable sectors. It wasn't just a vendetta. It was a takeover plan, one that Eleanor had uncovered far too late. And if Lucas was right, she hadn't just vanished, she was silenced. 3 months to the day after Eleanor disappeared, Lucas walked into the March Equity boardroom. The chair at the head of the table, hers, remained untouched. Her nameplate still gleamed in the center. But now, the rest of the board looked at Lucas with cold, expectant eyes. They wanted him to step down. Said the pressure was too much for someone his age. Said the company needed stability, not sentimentality. He smiled politely, then reached into his briefcase. "Before we begin," he said, placing the USB drive on the table, "there's something you should all see." He played Eleanor's recording, the part where she admitted discovering internal sabotage. Silence, shifting eyes, sweat on tailored collars. When it ended, he looked at each of them. Anyone want to deny they knew? No one spoke. Lucas didn't need their approval. Not anymore. From that day forward, he wasn't the intern Eleanor promoted. He was the man she chose to finish what she started. 6 months later, March Equity launched a scholarship in Eleanor's name. A bronze statue of her stood in the lobby, hand extended, mid-stride, immortalized in confidence. But Lucas never stopped searching. Every week, he returned to the rooftop at midnight, just like her calendar had said. Same time, same view, same silence. One night, he found something strange. A message etched into the back of the rooftop bench. Fresh, clean, hidden from sight unless you bent low. Still watching, EM. He stared at it for an hour, then smiled, just slightly. Whether it was real or a cruel joke, he didn't know, but it was enough to remind him this wasn't over. It had never been over. Lucas Hale never filled Eleanor's chair. He kept her office locked, her desk untouched, her perfume still faint in the air. Every decision he made, he asked himself, what would she do? He dismantled shell companies, reported 2 former board members for financial misconduct, and then, quietly, began funding women-led startups under a new venture arm named March+1. The press painted him as a young visionary, a protégé, a miracle, but he never took credit. To the world, Eleanor March was still missing. But to Lucas, she was everywhere. In the way he spoke, in the way he walked through fire without flinching, and in the fire she lit inside him, the fire they never saw coming. A photo surfaced online. At first, no one noticed her. She wasn't the subject, just a blurred figure exiting a bookstore in Copenhagen. But to Lucas Hale, that figure might as well have been in 4K. Same walk, same coat, same silver-streaked hair tied into that tight signature knot. Eleanor March. He stared at the image for hours, zoomed in, enhanced. Even cross-referenced the storefront's timestamp with her old calendar backups. There was no doubt in his mind. She was alive. But why Copenhagen? Why now? Lucas made a quiet call to an old contact at a cybersecurity firm. Find every trace of her movements in Europe in the last 90 days, he said. He didn't tell anyone. Not the board, not his assistant, not even security. Because if Eleanor had escaped and she didn't want to be found, then someone else might want her erased again. The penthouse hadn't changed. Lucas returned there late one night, alone, using the spare key card she'd once pressed into his palm with the words, "For emergencies only." It still smelled faintly of bergamot and paper. Bookshelves neatly arranged. Nothing felt out of place, until he noticed the painting. A massive, abstract piece had been replaced with a smaller canvas, one she'd painted herself decades ago in art school. She told him once that she hated it, so why was it hanging now? He removed it from the wall. Behind it, tucked into the hollow space in the drywall, was a small wooden box. Inside, a photo of them at the strategy retreat, laughing over sushi. A flash drive. A single key with a red tag marked E3R13, and a folded paper with just 3 words, "In case failsafe." Lucas's hands trembled. Whatever Eleanor had feared, this was her backup plan, and now it was his. The key was no ordinary key. It matched a private locker inside an underground storage vault in Midtown, the kind used by the ultra-wealthy to hide everything from diamonds to art. Lucas walked in, wearing a hoodie and sunglasses, flanked by no one. The vault was silent, cold. Locker E3R13 creaked open to reveal a steel case. Inside it, a black leather binder. It wasn't financial records. It was testimony. Letters, names, bank accounts. A full timeline of board decisions dating back 5 years, and how every one of them had been manipulated by outside pressure. At the back, a signed affidavit by Eleanor March and a second voice. A woman named Marta Coyle, March Equity's former internal auditor who had vanished 2 years earlier. Lucas whispered aloud, "She's been planning this for longer than I knew." And then he noticed the last page. It was blank, except for one typed line. "Do not trust Martin Greaves." Martin Greaves was the current chairman of the board. Lucas invited Martin Greaves to dinner. Private room, 5-star steakhouse, candlelight flickering over polished wood and leather chairs. They hadn't spoken in weeks. Martin walked in grinning, with that rehearsed politician's warmth. "Lucas," he said, "you've grown into quite the leader." Lucas returned the smile, but his eyes were razor-sharp. He handed Martin a glass of wine, poured perfectly, then pulled out a small envelope. "Found this in Eleanor's private locker. Lucas said calmly. Her handwriting, her records. Thought you'd want to see it before I made it public. Martin's face twitched. He opened the envelope, read half the first page, and paled. The kind of pale that only comes when the walls start closing in. You're bluffing, Martin muttered. But he was already sweating. Lucas leaned in. You tried to erase her, but you forgot one thing. What's that? She trusted me more than she ever trusted you. Martin didn't finish the wine. The cybersecurity firm delivered results. Lucas received a secure folder marked Geneva Class A ping. 1 week prior, Eleanor's alias credit card had been used at a boutique hotel outside Geneva. Not just for a room, but for a private conference booking under the name Eva Marchand. He booked the next flight. The receptionist remembered her. Elegant, firm, always wearing gloves. She never stayed more than 24 hours. But she left a sealed envelope at the front desk, with Lucas Hale's name on it. Inside, you're closer than they think. Trust no one. If you really want to find me, follow the ledger, not the rumors. E.M. The letter was dated 3 days ago. She knew he'd come. Back in New York, Lucas stepped into the elevator at March Equity after returning from Geneva. At floor 42, a man he'd never seen entered. Sharp suit, empty eyes. The ride was quiet, too quiet. Then as the doors closed, she shouldn't have left the country. The man muttered. Lucas froze. What did you say? The man didn't answer. Instead, he turned, just as the elevator stopped mid-floor. Some stories don't need a happy ending, Mr. Hale, the man said, pressing something in his pocket. You're asking questions that got her erased. Lucas lunged. They fought. Brief. Brutal. By the time security forced the doors open, the man had vanished. A ghost in a system Eleanor warned him was rigged. But now Lucas understood. This wasn't just a cover-up. It was a machine, and it was still hunting anyone who got too close. Lucas Hale didn't sleep that night. He spread the pages of Eleanor's binder across his apartment floor. Timelines, coded bank transfers, whistleblower testimonies. But one thing kept gnawing at him. Follow the ledger. It wasn't metaphor. It was literal. Lucas pulled up March Equity's internal accounting system, specifically the archived ledgers from Eleanor's last fiscal year. Buried inside an inactive holding company labeled Terra Sigil, he found it. A transaction, just one, moved to a foundation in Zurich, with a memo. Archive Room 7, Station Red. He'd never heard of it, so he did something drastic. He accessed the old biometric login system Eleanor used, a retinal scanner that was supposed to be decommissioned. At 3:17 a.m. it worked. A hidden vault opened beneath the old strategy floor. The lights flickered on. And there, covered in dust, stood a row of locked server towers, and one crimson terminal. Station Red. Lucas typed in Eleanor's birthday. The screen blinked to life, and a video began to play. Eleanor, seated calmly, wearing a gray suit and no makeup. If you found this, it means I failed publicly, but maybe not permanently. She paused, her voice steadier than he remembered. I was never planning to vanish, but I knew they'd never let me survive what I was about to reveal. This, she gestured around her. This is the real company, the one I built in the shadows of the one they tried to control. Behind her, the March Equity logo faded into something new. EM1 Initiatives, a rogue humanitarian fund, a whistleblower trust, a pipeline of protection for people like Marta Coyle, Lucas Hale. She looked straight into the camera. Don't find me, she said. Become me. The screen went black, and Lucas just stood there, surrounded by everything she'd built and everything she'd left behind. He was no longer the intern she once promoted. He was her shadow, her echo, her legacy. And this was only the beginning. They said she was foolish. They said she crossed a line. They said you can't rewrite power, can't outrun consequences, and certainly can't build a legacy with someone half your age. But Eleanor March didn't just promote an intern. She planted a seed. And even after she vanished, that seed grew into something they couldn't control. Something they never saw coming. Lucas Hale didn't just inherit a job. He inherited a ghost, a war she started, and a future she dared to believe in, even when the world turned against her. Sometimes the people we lose never really leave. They echo in every brave decision we make, every risk we take, and every legacy we refuse to let die. If this story moved you, comment below what moment hit you the hardest and answer the quiz at the end. Get it right within 7 days for a chance at our shoutout post. Watching late? Answer anyway. We might still surprise you. And if you love this kind of emotional story, the next one is already waiting for you. Click the video that will show on your screen soon. We'll meet you there. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and turn on the bell so you never miss what happens next. Quiz. How many times did we mention Lucas Hale's name?